Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Brace for Impact. We are in year number 2, officially now. Year number 2, episode 27. Benny, we have done it, and we've done more than that. We got more stuff to talk about, as always.
We got way too much to talk about now.
Yeah, always. Always.
This year flew by. I can't even. Sorry, no, let me get out of my days. It's year 2. It's season 2. Season 2 of Brace for Impact. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. We did a whole calendar year at Parks.
Why did they let us keep talking?
I don't know. Who let us cook? I have
Let us
absolutely.
cook.
Who let blood cook? So
Wow.
I've been going through for the people that don't know. We're working on actually like a best bits, right?
Yeah,
And
we are.
we've been going through all the old episodes, looking at like literally I've been listening through the whole pod. And a lot of the highlights I've been clipping are the intros because we literally just muck about for like a good
There's
2
a
minutes.
good,
So
yeah,
like,
I always look, I'm just like, man, how long do we just waffle at the start just to say nothing
yeah,
productive? And yeah, it's a good portion of it. But you know what?
yeah,
It's fine. It is fine.
yeah, it is fine.
We do our own thing. We have fun with it. And
Oh
speaking
yeah,
of fun with it, this is going to be a very interesting
and we
episode.
still managed to get to within an hour
Yeah,
ish.
that's the
Ish. Big ish.
that's the big thing is like we still somehow managed to keep it relatively within an hour. Um, somehow, I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah.
lots to cover as you mentioned. I think the biggest thing we're gonna actually let's go right off the top. We're gonna mention Phoebe who left a comment in. We do read your comments, don't you worry.
Yes.
We do read your comments, and Phoebe actually had a really good point. I'm
Yes.
gonna pull up that comment now.
You know what? I totally forgot to do the same,
I
and I
took a
meant to
screenshot of
comment
it, so it's in our Discord chat. I was smart enough to do that.
Okay. Okay.
So
I literally
something,
have the YouTube playlist open, so
yeah.
I've just jumped to the last episode anyway. I'm like, all right. So,
um,
just some background real quick. She's talking about
ISF.
on the last episode we mentioned that IESF announced that they are going to have the World Championships next year in Saudi Arabia. Right now, the qualifier was the Asia qualifier, I should say, was also in Saudi Arabia, right? So they've
Right.
already hosted essentially part of
Yes.
the IESF
Yes.
circuit, and it was a LAN as well. So it's like, okay, they've done this before. We know the issues IESF actually had at Romania, by the way, this
Yeah.
year. But putting that aside, Phoebe's comments is in relation to that. And so, do you want me to just read it since I have it up here?
Sure.
Or?
Yeah. I mean, I could read it too, but
Okay. So she says, just something I wanted to add to the point around 27 minutes about IESF being in Saudi Arabia. It's obviously crap that she uses this word. I'm
keep going.
gonna
Keep going.
save mine.
Keep going.
So
Keep going. Save yours.
it's obviously crap that IESF is hosted in Saudi Arabia, but given the reason that they're investing in esports so heavily at the moment, it's sports watching. They'd never try and pull anything with players in the country. There was a lesbian too, Dodocaster, who went over there and she was treated just fine. The discussion over morals of aiding Saudi sport washing by participating in IESF is a whole different thing. But I don't know. But like, I don't know. As an Oceanic player, where else do you go if you want to compete internationally? Even then, if I did protest IESF being in Saudi Arabia, cash cups are funded by Saudi Arabia as well. She's obviously referring to ESL being owned by the
Saudi government.
Um,
Yeah.
yep. Do I just not compete in the female scene? If I play ESCA Open again, that's owned by ESL Faceit Group. Our whole esport is just being bankrolled by Saudi Arabia, unfortunately. If anyone knows the rules for trans people competing in IESF and could let me know, that would be cool. Thanks. I'm pretty sure trans would be okay for ISF. I'm
I
100%.
think
I mean, trans people have competed in the
yes.
ISF just last year.
I think the
So,
biggest thing is how do the Saudis in relation to foreigners, how do they treat them once they get there? And I think a bit of
right.
that you have to look at that and you have to think about Qatar. Because Qatar, there was a lot of stuff that going into the World Cup, the Qatari government and the royal family said, "Oh yeah, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine." And then all of a sudden you get there and like, for example, beer. Beer was a huge one. Like
Oh, they did the
they
reversal
had
for
the
the
whole
World Cup
thing
like
like they were
48
gonna have
hours before. Yeah,
exactly like Budweiser. I think it was Budweiser at the time. Like they were like, hey, you know,
correct.
you're able to have beer in the stands. It's a huge thing for all the foreigners that are coming in because in England, like you watch a game and you have a pint when you do it. Like that is quintessential soccer in the biggest market for soccer. So, that's just one thing that like we don't know how the Saudis are going to react to foreigners being coming in. And the good thing is that from all intents and purposes, by anybody I've talked to regarding going to Saudi Arabia for events, because there's been a few people that we know that have done that, they say they're treated great, which is great. I'm glad. There's no,
Yeah,
that's
I
fine.
mean,
The problem is, and always will be, is that they're doing that to cover up the fact that there are certain things that they do through their religious cultural means that just do
right.
not vibe with the rest of the Western world, and mostly rightly so. I mean, you look at the way they treat their women in terms of forcible
Yeah,
religious coverings, and how
yeah.
you are treated essentially as, I guess the best word is house slave. Like I don't.
Well, possession. Would say
Yeah, it's more of possession, more of
than
possession than an actual
yeah,
person, and so
yeah.
that's the rough part.
I mean,
So
some of that, not enough of it. A
yeah,
small, little, tiny smidge of it changed when women were given the right to drive, which I think
yeah,
is less than 10 years since they've done that. Under 10 years since they've done
yeah,
that,
it's
which is
slow.
insane to me. But I liken it back to a real distant episode of BFI. I don't remember the number, forgive me, but we talked about the Gamer Girl tournament that was in
Yes,
Bahrain
right.
during that one. And
Yeah,
we remember there was a post that came out from Cherry Gums, who was the CEO of Black Dragons, and she said like she spoke at a like women's empowerment panel
yeah,
at the LAN, and the LAN was for the tournament there
was all
was
for
for
women.
women.
Yeah,
Yep. And she said like, "Oh, I was so scared. It's a country that's not really kind to me." Blah blah blah. And she got a lot of backlash from Bahrainian esports fans and from really people within the scene, because they said we invited you, you came, we spoke at a women's empowerment panel. We ran this tournament. We treated you with the utmost respect. We gave you
yeah,
all the amenities in your stay. Like, so that's why, and I had mentioned at that in that pod that you at some point you have to treat people the way that they're treating you. Do you know what I mean? At some
yeah,
so I think the main thing that needs to be understood is I don't condone anything, a lot that the Saudi government does. I don't
yes,
condone a lot that maybe that culture enables. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So I mean, there's good and bad parts of every culture, right? So it's not one's better than the other. It's
yeah.
just there's
There's stuff
you
to
know
everyone. Like
exactly right. So even American culture, as we've seen in the last 3 years, has
lots of,
significant problems, right?
yes,
So
everywhere has a
um
problem.
yes, but the point is, I think the thing that needs to be understood is that a lot of those problems are at a level that we as players, we as commentators, we as tournament organizers, whomever,
Yeah,
cannot really touch, cannot really change. And a lot of people say, "Oh, one person can change the rule and all that stuff." That I get that, but at the like playing in it for me, Phoebe playing an event in Saudi Arabia, whomever it is, it doesn't matter. It could be Olga playing an event in Saudi Arabia.
yeah,
It could be anybody playing an event in Saudi Arabia.
yeah,
It's not an indictment on an acceptance of those beliefs or anything
yeah,
like that. Same as I would say that's the same for the talent, the crew, the staff, anybody, right? Even down to the staff at the tournament organizer who put on the event.
yeah,
But I think, there needs to be there's other channels with which we can use our platform to express and highlight the issues.
yeah.
And I don't think
Eh,
on the stage, like not on the stage at Riyadh, but like my point is like we also have a limitation to what we can do.
yeah.
So it's
I
about
think at some point,
understanding those
yeah.
limitations and working within those bounds to keep progressing forward.
At some
That's what I
point,
think it
you
is.
have to look and say, who's paying me? And the answer is the Saudis. The Saudis are
Yeah.
paying. So
Yeah.
while yes, you are fully within your right to say whatever you want, at some point you've got to look and say, well, they're funding my lifestyle at this point.
Right.
Now that's not a
I mean,
total thing
yeah.
to say accept what they do. Not at
Right.
all. That is
Yeah.
a look at it and understand they treat you while you're there. They pay you for what you do. You
Yep.
get to go to these tournaments. So it's not all they're a horrible type of they're a horrible people. They should be gone. Like
Yeah.
we should
I mean,
obliterate their culture. That's
yeah. I mean, they got to work, as a culture and whatnot. They have to work on a lot, a
yes.
lot. Don't get me
Yes.
wrong. Way more. I mean, there's just some stuff that's way, way, way egregious. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
it's a double, like, if somebody is strong enough to stand up and say, I am not going to do it, I don't support it, I will boycott, I will not work an event, I will not go there, you are well within your rights to do so, and I
Yeah.
totally respect you for that. I also am not going to begrudge people who understand that it's going to put bread on their table,
Yeah.
and they take the event because it puts bread on their table. Everybody has their own individual reason for doing something.
Yeah.
Everybody, and you know, you can judge. I could judge. You know, whatever, somebody that makes a decision or doesn't make a decision. But the point is, like, the reasons are solely theirs.
Yeah.
And there's a really good. I take it from the beginning of a book I read called The Psychology of Money. I have it down here. It's a great book,
Yeah.
by the way. But at the very beginning, they say humans act irrationally, right? You're taught that kind of like in economics, right? That humans are essentially irrational. They make irrational decisions. But nobody's actually crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, they my point is, as a whole, they're not crazy. Like, they look at the facts in front of them, and
Yeah.
they come to a determination
Correct.
through reasonable or understandable means about how they get there. Now, it might be not the same way I get there, might be not the same way you get there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
eventually
I think
an
it's
answer
tough.
comes forward in their brain, and they go with it.
Right, exactly. So it's difficult. I think it's very difficult. I'm obviously, there's a lot of problems with the tournament being in Riyadh. I'm not a huge fan of the sports watching. It is a significant problem, yes. But at the same time, like,
Money's got to come from somewhere.
It's the only thing we have, as outside of Brazil having Gamers Club and BGS and everything else that they do have. You know, if you're not in South America and you're not in China, it is literally the only thing you've got going for the women's scene. And you know, at the same time, it's their money they're putting forward into the scene. So
Exactly.
you know, you have to kind of take everything through that filter of understanding that you know, they don't have to spend this money. So I don't know. It's a tough line to walk, and no matter what side you fall on it, there's going to be a conflict of interest.
There's pros and cons to both sides, and it's like at some point you got to bite the bullet, and
there's going to be a conflict of morals no matter where you fall on the line. And when that happens, your best decision is to just you make a decision, and that's it. That's you know what I mean.
Stick with it,
and you don't begrudge anybody else for making the opposite decision. And you certainly don't listen to anybody else who would begrudge you for making the decision you make. But when that's the scenario and it's a lose-lose, you pick one and you deal with it. That's all you got to do. You know what I mean?
So like I said, thank you very much, Phoebe, for your comment. We do, like I said, we do read them. I read them every single time and get ready to upload the next episode. Sometimes we look at them even as the episodes come out. We over the next few days we kind of look. Appreciate the feedback and appreciate the talk. That's a 10-minute segment right there.
I'm glad she's not afraid to bring it forward. Like, that's the point. Like,
and that's
nobody
the
should be afraid to bring the bigger issues forward like that. But at the levels that we're at, we're not going to really make a big change. So you have to just make a decision, stick with it, I guess.
Let's speed through the rest of these then. Talking more about rosters and stuff. FlyQuest Red have finally announced their new coach. We saw him a little bit. Munster going after Munster.
Not that Munster.
Not that Munster. I made a very funny joke of like it's Munster versus Munster in NA now. Shout out Joe. Love him so much.
I think we get that matchup this week too.
No, not this week. That's I think in the second last week. I think that's week 5.
It might be next week.
It's not this week. FlyQuest Red is playing Karma, I want to say this week. So.
Oh, you're right. It's next week then.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's gonna be a funny matchup. Munster versus Munster is really good. So, congratulations to the Romanian head coach who takes over. Obviously, fills the vacant hole that Flashy left once he went to be an analyst over at Navi. Some other good news: AAP Esports signed a lineup of Dewey, Shant, Mill, Cass, and Tipsy. I think you know more about them because it's a Danish lineup.
So I actually don't, but here's the thing. Well, Dewey, I believe was one she female, the XI female. Remember that? So I think she's now in this lineup. Look, listen, this lineup is all extremely young. Like 16, 17, 18 for most of these players.
Yeah.
And it's an all Danish lineup. I don't want to. This is not a tiered podcast. This isn't a podcast for Tier 1 Women's Counter-Strike, and we forget everything in Tier 2. We are not the CSPPA, okay?
Yeah.
We are for all divisions of Counter-Strike. So even though this tier, Great reference, by the way. No, just completely passed over that. Anyway, we're just gonna keep going.
Please
So,
do.
even though this is not a team that's extremely competitive, it's first off, it's great to see them signed. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It gives more opportunities for women to grow, and so these players now have an opportunity to grow in a better environment than just if they were pug team. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
They have some
and
financial backing now to support them.
correct. So, it's great to see. So, congratulations to them. Maybe we'll see him in the Cash Cup, but I think it's going to be one of these instances, kind of like an Insilio, kind of like a Shi, kind of, where
It's just a
even if
development.
they come into the Cash Cup, they're kind of going out in the first 2 rounds. But look, they play hard, they
Developmental.
develop well.
Developmental.
Who knows? You know what I mean? So,
And maybe maybe it's a Copenhagen Flames thing where they're trying to get they're grabbing the players early, developing them, and then sending them forward. That could be their entire business plan is they looked and
yeah,
went Copenhagen was
that's
onto
when you
something.
said a Copenhagen Flames thing. That's
You
not
know,
where my mind first
no?
went to. I
Oh.
just thought, are they going bankrupt? What the?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh God.
Let's continue on then with
Mhm.
announcements.
Oh, yeah.
So
Do you want
there's a big one. There's the big one that we're gonna finish
to
off
finish
towards
with?
the end
Yeah.
here. So another big announcement for the NIP camp was that two of their players, the Danish players,
Mhm.
were announced. Were given the distinction of honor, and they are official esports ambassadors. So that is Kiara
Yes.
and Naomi, who of
Yes.
course won ISF Romania.
Yes. So big congrats to them. They're now Dutch ambassadors for esports. I think that's a
Did
really,
I say
really great
Danish?
honor.
I meant
So
Dutch. I feel
yeah,
like I
they're
said
Dutch.
Danish.
They're Dutch.
My bad.
But look, it's a nice achievement. They those two have come quite a long way in a short amount of time. Like I shouldn't say like it's so great for their career because their career is only starting, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it is a nice honor. It is a great achievement to go alongside things. And really, I think these two players are developing extremely well. These are players that we could see get. They haven't reached their ceiling yet.
Yeah.
They definitely haven't. So, looking forward to that continuing and seeing how this role as an esports ambassador, how they take it on as well. So, big congrats to them, and looking forward to what this might bring.
All right, so that leaves us with a few little bits here. I think we're gonna hit the big one first, just because it's still a roster movement. There's a little bit of stuff
Okay.
around it. So Let Her Cook, who
Yep.
we had been kind of talking to regarding stuff, have actually been signed.
Mm-hmm.
We were constantly asking them. We were just basically like, hey, you mentioned you're signed by you're getting signed by an org.
Yep.
There's who is it? And they wouldn't tell us. But eventually it came out. Gamer Legion has signed them. They were
Yes.
signed as Gamer Legion Prism, I want to
Prism,
say.
which is a great name, by the
So
way.
good. Such a good name. However, that did not come without its controversies, as
Yeah.
very quickly afterwards, some things kind of came out, and I don't know how to bite the bullet on
So
this one.
I can take the reins.
Yeah, if you
If you
can,
want. So
please.
the first announcement was literally less than 24 hours. Because some o- older screenshots came out of Kitty saying basically
Some racial
some
slurs.
racially charged, uh, expletives
Yeah.
that are completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I actually congratulate Gamers Legion for taking the swiftest of action. I mean, it was just,
It
it's
was,
over.
hey,
It's
it's been a
immediate.
day.
It's done.
Gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And there is no excuse for it. There's really no excuse for the kind of language that came out. The problem I have with the second one, which was targeted at Monoskine,
yeah.
it was not racially motivated. It was essentially there was talk that Monoskine used to be in a different scene in CS and got banned for, I believe, cheating.
Yeah.
And it's the problem I have is the accuser's reputation is not
She's a
clean by any stretch of
trans
the metric. There's a very clear motive
she's a
behind why
transphobe, I think is the best
yes,
way to say it.
yes, 100%. And you know So Måneskin basically just took it upon herself to resign.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't a decision Gamers Legion made.
Yeah.
So, and I understand why she would, right? I get the scenario of why you would resign, right?
Yeah.
That the problem I have though is that I don't know. It's a lot of speculation. There's no hard evidence. It's not like the rest where it's like here's a bunch of screenshots, like,
Yeah.
and some of them were recent, or you can tell they're more recent games, and it's like,
Yeah.
because if the screenshot, I'm not excusing it, I don't condone it, but
Yeah.
in the Kitty situation, if the screenshot had come out and it was 4 or 5 years ago and Kitty was like 16, 15, I'm saying, and she's 21 now.
Yeah.
I would say,
we had this. You know what? I'm gonna say this. We
that's
had
a
the same talk.
conversation.
We had the same talk about Piggy Kiki and her cheating allegations, where she had multiple accounts and lots of banning. It's like, well, she's young. Like, if these bans happened 3-4 years ago, she's 16, 15 years old.
Yeah.
So
she's 14, really.
14, yeah. So the understanding is, like, around that age, there's a lot of stuff that happens in terms of emotional maturity and all that kind of stuff. Does it excuse it? No. However, you're not the same person when you're in your mid-teens compared to where you are your early to mid-20s. So, yeah, it's a tough situation when you see that it's a continued behavior. That's where it's like, okay, draw the line, get done.
Yes.
And for Måneskin, yeah, there was multiple people coming forward regarding it. It's just, it all started off the fact that she is trans, and the person who was going after her basically was just saying there's no room in this sport for her, when ESL Impact is clearly written there is space, and ESL Impact is that space. So that's where that kind of gets, that's what kind of gets me with this whole thing, is a lot of the discussion. Now, to be fair, there's some good discussion regarding this whole thing. Is it productive? Maybe not, but there's discussion that happens around all this. And it just, you end up with 2 players now leaving. Those gaps have been filled. I want to say by Misfire and McKiri, but I could be wrong. For the Game Release in Prison, they basically found 2 more players.
Misfire definitely was one of them.
Yeah.
And then McKiri was the other sub.
Yeah. So it puts Game Release in Prism into a weird spot. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth overall regarding the whole situation. And that's the worst part, I think, is just like, is it good that these things came to light? Yes.
I mean, in the Kitty TM situation, I would say
In the Måneskin way, it's a bit gray, because it's just allegations at this point.
There's 2 ways that this could have gone, essentially, right? Måneskin could have stayed in a roster and pulled a Piki Kiki, and 2 years later, everyone's like, it's all speculation still, like, I don't know. We got to leave it at speculation, and then or resign and let things blow over, which usually it's the better path, right? Because you get less heat that way. But like I said, the problem I have is that the actor, which is the same actor who came forward with the Kitty TM stuff. Now, again, the Kitty TM stuff is hard evidence.
Yeah.
It's much, I am not arguing against it, anything that happened there.
Yeah.
My problem is the Måneskin stuff is clear speculation with no hard evidence from an actor who was a bad actor with a
motivation.
Bad motivation. Yeah. So, now it's like, well, you're kind of, and Esme, I used to follow her. I unfollowed her since all this went down because she's a former player. I actually had her account muted. Like, I just had her muted on Twitter. And because she used to tweet a lot about Apex. After she went to CS, she transitioned over to Apex. And I'm like, I don't care about Apex. So, but the thing is, like, it's the fact that, like, clearly this is a bad actor. Like, you've made your mark. You targeted who you need to target it, or you wanted to target. I shouldn't say need to target. You targeted who you wanted to target.
Yeah.
Enjoy your 15 minutes of fame. I'm going to use my swear. Please get the fuck out of this industry for the rest of your goddamn life.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Sesame.
Bye.
See you never.
Rough. I hate that shit. There's my swear.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for the rest of Gamer Prison. or Gamer Legion, Gamer Prism, Gamer Legion.
Gamer
It's
Prison.
hard on them. Like
Yeah.
the Gamer Legion, the girls of Gamer Legion, the rest of the girls of Gamer Legion haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, this great moment for Kezi Wow and Joanna and all these, who by the way are players who have played with Monoskyne for a while, have been in boot camps in person. Like, you know what I mean?
It's
They haven't
just-
said anything about it. I would
Yeah.
trust what they say more. You know what I mean? Like, come on. So it's
At
one of
this
these
point, it
things
is
where
what it
like
is.
it screws them over the
Yeah.
most. And you know, this is a team that really now you're looking at a org that might, or I shouldn't say might, is very likely going to lose their spot in the Impact League, like not be able to retain it. They go
Yeah.
qualify obviously, but
it
not
makes
be able
their
to
journey a
retain
lot
it
harder.
because you've done this. So I just congrats SME, but sayonara. Don't ever don't
Stay
let
out
the
of
door hit you on the ass on the way out, please.
Yeah.
In fact, can you let the door hit you on the way on the ass on the way out, please?
All right. Well,
Somebody just smack you upside the head.
let's move on to some better things here. Let's just finish everything else off here. In terms of other tournaments happening before we move on to Impact, because we're kind of slowly moving towards Impact as we go here.
Yes.
Play Bay has announced a women's CS tournament. They have so far invited Guild and Astralis. Big Akipa qualified, so that's all pretty cool.
I think there's actually one other team that qualified.
Yeah, because it was
big
qualified on the second one. I couldn't. Yeah, you didn't see it.
Yeah, I couldn't find the first.
So there's another team there for sure, but we just don't know who they are.
The big thing was, just real quick on this, the big thing was it was CSGO. The first two qualifiers in the tournament was going to be CSGO. They've since made the announcement everything's moving to CS2.
Yeah.
So the third and fourth qualifier will be in CS2. So they actually delayed the third and fourth qualifier with the launch of CS2. They've since rescheduled dates, I think. I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far.
But you're still you got to give time to, because if you're fully moving over, then it is what it is. Like
I think, and that's fine. But I would have made the argument you should play the qualifiers on Go and then go to 2 on the LAN at least. Not split qualifiers halfway.
It's a lot harder to run Go servers now than it was before, and that's kind of where Valve wanted. Well, that's what Valve wanted to do when they just blatantly said we're getting rid of Go and using the spot for CS2. So. Still such a weird movement, man. I don't agree with it, but you know, it is what it is. I can't control Valve. They're too high up.
I would have run the qualifiers on Go and then swap the LAN to CS2. So at least everybody has a level playing field at the qualifier stage then.
Yeah.
And then when you get to LAN, it's
then it's a new piece.
You know
what I
mean? But anyway,
continuing to
third
talk
and fourth qualifiers to come this week. So
continue to talk about CS2 as well. Impact also announced that they are moving over to CS2. Interestingly enough, ESCA Season 46 is entirely running on Go, which is great because that means it's consistent. ESL Impact has made the decision they're going to move over into CS2. They ran their first Cash Cup this weekend on CS2. It was all right. Auto Director sucks. There's no UI. It's so bad. Like, it's not ready.
You're right. It's not ready. But here's the thing.
Wednesday, Thursday are not going to be ready. Wednesday and Thursday are going to be difficult, to say the least.
You had trouble observing and Go anyway to begin with, so
yeah, but at least the UI could show who the players were. It doesn't. It's way worse.
That's actually very true. It is way worse.
My mistakes do not match the same as Valve's in this, Benny. Okay.
Okay.
let's leave it at that.
That's a very fair point. Okay. I think the main thing is I'm okay with the switch. I'm okay with the switch for Impact because it came. The game launched on a Wednesday, so they didn't go like, oh, Thursday's games are going to be on CS2. It's let's finish out the week and then let's jump over.
Yeah.
The reason Advanced and all the ESEA leagues are staying on Go is because literally when the game launched, they were already a round or two into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like
there's
the season's done.
There's no way you're going over to 2 just like that. No
so
way.
it makes sense to say, oh, we've got 2 or 3 weeks left of postseason. We might as well just finish that out on Go.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense to me. Blast that's not related to women's Counter-Strike.
We're not talking about Blast.
But the point is, I'm okay with the change. It's fine. Everybody's got to adapt. CS as a game is not perfect. People need to understand its first release. Source was like this when it got released. Counter-Strike Beta was like this when it got released. Freaking,
Go was like this.
Go was like this when it got released.
I think the biggest thing that people are mad about is why did we have to lose Go to immediately switch over to the hot mess that is CS2? And I get that. I wish they had just made CS2 its own thing instead of literally pumping out a new branch. But
don't buy it. I mean, yeah, you're right. I wish they would have done so too, because you can still go back and play all the older editions of Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Like if I want to launch Condition Zero, I can just go into a Condition Zero and launch it.
Whereas if I want to
when I
launch
want.
Go, I do have the beta branch open for Go as well because I needed it for casting as well. But like, it's a half-hour download. Like it's a 30 gig download or whatever. Like you've got to re-download CS:GO. Basically.
Only the initial. Only the initial is.
Yes. After that, you're
So-
fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
You still get the updates for CS2 and everything. So like, I can still play
Yeah.
CS2 right now. I just have it in my
Yeah.
options that I can do Go or CS2, just because
Yeah,
that's
so
what I
like
need.
I did Go. I downloaded the demo for Go, right? It was like a 15 gig download, whatever,
Yeah.
right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Did that. But then when I swapped back over to CS2 for the cash cups this weekend, it was like an 800 byte download. It took.
You didn't.
It was like that.
Oh, I didn't do that at all. I didn't get rid of the branch at all. You don't have to.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I thought you did. But anyway,
No.
it don't matter.
I did
It doesn't matter.
experiment
The point is, it's not going to matter. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
After the initial download. So I don't buy the argument though that people are like, oh, why did we have to get rid of why do we have to jump to a new game? It's not ready. It's not perfect. It's not. Nothing is. Welcome
Yeah,
to Valve.
And I get
Nothing is.
okay.
People
So
remember when Nuke first launched, when
Yeah.
Overpass first launched. They were
bad.
absolute
They're bad.
horrid. They're phenomenal maps now. Perfectly fine.
The way I look at it
let
is,
Valve
why
go.
couldn't that
Let
have
'em
been? The one thing I'm going to say is, why didn't they let that happen in parallel? Like, why didn't we have CS2 release and you continue with this everybody playing? You get way more. You get a ton of matches because people are going to play it. Of course, it's the new game. They're going to play it. But you also have Go in the background as like,
Yeah.
we're going to continue this on. Anyways, that's going to be enough about that. We got to keep going here.
We do.
We're losing time.
The only thing I was going to add to it is I would use the end of the year as the perfect time to switch over.
Exactly,
Like that,
right?
that would have made sense. You know what I
And-
mean? In your case, yes, it kept Go. Just wait to the end of the year. Everybody
Yeah.
swaps it over for 2024.
Boom.
Voila.
Here we go. End of the major cycle or whatever.
Yep.
Final little point of news. Shout out to our man B-Dog, who has been putting out non-stop interviews. They're only like 2 or 3 minutes long. Posting them on his YouTube channel. He posts them on Twitter, which is amazing because it means I can watch them during my day, like when I'm at work.
Yeah.
I don't like have to
And
go
they're
into
really
YouTube.
bite-sized too.
They are
like,
really good. They're like 3 minutes long, and you get and. I remember because I talked to him about this because he wanted to reach out to some of the players on some of the NA teams that like we don't really hear much about. So you get like Tatsugeki and Tsunami Sirens in there.
Yeah.
He wants the same thing that we kind of made when we started this podcast. If we wanted to get the news out of all women's CS stuff, we wanted to recap. Basically, you got this 1 hour here to recap 2 weeks worth of stuff because that's about where the news cycle is at right now. We get 2 weeks worth of stuff. You pretty much cover everything you need. His is exactly the same. Hey, here's 3 minutes. I'm just going to talk to a player real quick. It's like a passing interview. I'm going to talk to this player real quick. You get to learn about them. You get to talk about their team results, where they're at, how they're feeling, like all this stuff. You get to learn about the people behind the teams. And for a lot of unsigned teams in NA or teams that are like just starting out, like players that are just kind of getting the hang of it, getting the ropes, like that's incredible. That's amazing. So shout out to B-Dog. I have not watched a few of them recently. I've been too busy, which is hilarious because they're literally 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm probably gonna watch a few of them while I'm doing the editing for this podcast, basically, because they're so good.
Steve, I haven't had the chance to watch any of them, so
You are missing out. There are a lot of good ones in there.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna catch up on them, but you got. I'm watching 41 episodes of the pod.
Yeah,
right?
there's priorities here. I'm not doing that. I'm watching the B-Dog interviews anyways. Anyways, we've got like less than half an hour to go through results, so we're gonna be zooming here. Let's start off with the.
Let me just say one thing. Do you want to drop the last CS:GO Cash Cup since it's kind of irrelevant now? We'll just talk about the most recent one.
Yeah, we can. We'll mention the winner. We'll mention the winner. And we'll just mention like how many teams were there for the. So we can do that real quick. Actually, let's just do that. We'll do the Cash Cups first. So starting off in Asia, because they've got games now. Look at that.
Yeah, baby.
Benny wakes up real early for those. So
got so much that it messed my sleep schedule up for the whole week.
Oh jeez. So the last CS:GO Cash Cup they had, there were 3 teams that played. Interestingly enough, HSG has an academy team now.
Yes.
And it's a
and
full
Xiao
Chinese
Wu
team.
is on that academy team.
Yeah.
Remember Xiao
So
Wu?
I do.
Oh.
So she and the rest of her team there, Pity 95 4399 and Wenzai beat Invincible team, which is a Thai Japanese mix.
Yeah,
Ratch, Rainey,
mainly Thai.
1000, mainly Thai. Bunny Jung and Yoki. HSG won that 2-0. Congrats
Real
them.
quick note about that, just super one sentence note.
Yeah.
Watch 95 because she's listed as a sub for HSG
Interesting.
on the qualifier, which is this week. So she's listed as a sub.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. And remember at Dallas, by the way, one of those about HSG. Remember at Dallas they had to use, I think, did they use Naomit or was it Liobang at Dallas?
Naomit, I believe.
So remember Naomit was technically a substitute.
Yeah.
At Dallas because I believe they couldn't sort Liobang's. Liobang just couldn't go for personal reasons.
Yeah.
Naomit's now listed as a starting player in that lineup. Liobang is nowhere in that lineup.
Interesting.
So
there you go.
Just 2 notes ahead of
updates.
next week for you.
Okay, so then we go to the first Asia Cup in CS2. Only 2 teams signed up. It was Invincible
HSG
team.
actually signed up and then pulled out like 5 minutes before.
Yeah, so Invincible team versus Fury G's. So Ratch, Rainey, this time Exquisite, 1001 and Rico. They won 13-2, 13-11.
Yeah.
That is going to be so weird to say from now on, the fact that it's
I know, I'll say it's 16.
So, but the cool thing is, with the introduction of Face It tournaments, we've seen a noticeable uptick in teams in Asia, which is awesome. Great to see that moving forward.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 2, hey, it's 2 teams. They're earning some good money
from regions that need that money, like where the exchange rate is extremely high. So
that's $350, for the team. You divide that by the 5 players, like that's, I can't do math real quick like that, but that's like $70 odd, I want to say.
350 divided by it's $70.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is because people don't understand, and I was looking it up the other day, believe it or not, like this was from Vietnam, and I know none of these teams are Vietnamese, but just bear with. The average rent in Vietnam is like $350 to $500 a month. So literally, it's one of these things where, these players who win this cash cup can turn around and use that money for like part of their rent, part of you know what I mean? Like it goes a long way in these countries. So
which is great.
Yeah, it's great to see them playing. We got a good second map. It was 13-11. Fiery G's had quite a bit of a comeback, but they couldn't hold on.
Yeah. All right, so that puts us into the Oceania region now.
Yes.
And really cool to see KZG Hera. We talked about them earlier. We talked about them last episode. They picked up the team. The first tournament the first cash cup did not go well. Well, it went all right for them. It's kind of, it is what it is. You have to recognize at some point, like, these 10 players have, like, in some form or other, these 10 players have been cycling and playing against each other for a very long time now. So they ended up losing to Smooth Brain, which is Barf, Area, Maddie, Viscose, and Mew.
Yeah, under the name CSGO enjoyers.
Yeah. And that was the last tournament they won. So Smooth won that 2-1 over KZG.
Yes, Soko had to substitute in, I believe, or no, they had a sub in the third map. I can't remember who.
Right.
It's gonna kill me.
Well,
but yeah, they had to have a sub in the third map. I think it was actually Soko, and she just came in on the Vertigo and just crushed everybody. But yeah, KZG are getting close to winning their first cash cup. They'll have a good crack at it next time around.
Yeah, 13-8 on Inferno, like that's huge, right there.
Yeah.
You get some there. So yeah, and I mean we're talking. So then they do their CS2 event. They lose again to CS:GO Enjoyers 2-1. This time it's Artemis, Soko, Coney, HDiz, and Chicken Loaf. HDiz is still HDiz. It's not Hope.
Yes,
Chicken
but Soko did come in as a sub in that match.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So
that's anyway. Oceania. Moving forward here, we've got ATK going, or not ATK. So, well, we do have ATK, but it's actually South Africa that I was talking about, not just the ATK region.
Yeah.
4 teams showing up for the last CS:GO Cash Cup, which is pretty cool. And you got ATK
5 teams showing up actually.
Oh, it lists 4. I'm on CS:GO, not CS2.
Oh, okay.
I'm still covering it. It's just we're going fast.
Okay. Go ahead.
ATK win this one out. It was a 2-1 victory. It's a comeback win, 16-7, 16-10 after going down 11-16 against Evasive Female, who is Avo, Ado, Lex, Nikki, and Queenza.
Ado.
So we're still seeing a lot of teams a lot of players that we recognize from different rosters over the last few bits. First CS2 Cash Cup. Very interesting. A 13-11 on Vertigo, a 13-1 on Mirage, 4 Evasive Female. There was 5 teams. And then, of course, 13-6 ATK beat Evasive out. I'm going to open up the pages to you, the other teams that participated real quick. Participants. Beefa Taurus, ATK, Evasive, APG, and Perwa Cat. So.
Yeah. On to South America real quick.
Yeah.
Only 3 teams. Oh, go ahead. You do the CSGO one. I don't even have that pulled up.
Okay, CSGO. Let me pull that up real quick. Last CSGO one, they had 5 teams show up. MIBR, Kidisgrasa, Capivaras, Cafina were the notable ones. It doesn't list the 5th one. And MIBR won that 2-1 against Capivaras in the finals, 16-13, lost 16-2, and then won the final one 16-3. So first map was really competitive, and then after that, I was just kind of like, okay, let's just finish this off.
Yeah. Interesting on the CS2 one, there were only 3 teams. MIBR beat Panalinia, which is a
that's
mix
whoa.
It's a great mix.
That's an amazing mix.
Lay from, I believe Lay is from Kidisgrasa.
Oh, okay. Lister is W7M.
Okay, sorry. Yes, and then Josie, remember formerly Big and whatnot.
Yeah.
Anna from Furia, Julie, and Junger from Fluxo. So they lost to MIPR. The interesting thing is, right, you know how on these pages, Faceit give like there's a rank. Like if you it has your level, but if you're up in the top, I think it's
your top 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah. So for people that say like, oh, what are the skill of these players or whatever, this final had 6 of the 10 players in the top 1,000 in Brazil.
Really?
Like, these women are really good in Brazil.
Wow.
Like, they're very good players. That's why you got to watch more South American Counter-Strike with me, Park. But no, 13-11 on the last map after 13-5 and 13-9 Nuka Mirage. Vertigo was the last map. MIBR clutched it out in the last round. Really good series. Phenomenal stuff. Looking forward to the next one. Over to North America, shall we?
Yeah, North America. Last Cash Cup in the CSGO variety. We had 7 teams participate as per usual. That's kind of where North America is kind of sitting around now. 5 to 7 teams participate. And, I mean, the notable 4 that came through were Shimmer, Totsugeki, EG Gold, and Tsunami Sirens. The final, kind of, you could expect it, was EG versus Shimmer. Interesting result comes through. It is EG Gold winning this time. You look at Shimmer as that number 2 team that we've been kind of keeping an eye on. They ended up losing. It was a 16-6 win for Shimmer. And then it was a 16-7, 16-11 map wins for EG Gold. So they win the last CSGO Cash Cup. And then we proceed to see neither of those teams in the next one, as we get some new blood coming in. 5 teams come through. Tsunami Sirens, Totsugeki, Wanted Goons Bandits, who, remember, they did not qualify for Season 4. Right. But they're still playing. They're still doing stuff.
Shout out Reef.
Yeah, shout out Reef. Hope she recovers better. I don't know what to say. We got her a really nice Get Well Soon card. Yeah.
Has a full recovery. And a more speedy recovery. But
we hope that she'll be able to run.
Yes.
That's the big thing. Frolic through the CS fields.
Running down the drain.
And then Killer Queens is that last notable team. We ended very interesting actually. Totsugeki ended up losing to Wanted Goons Bandits, which is a pretty interesting result, I want to say. In the semifinals, that left us with the finals of Tsunami Sirens versus Wanted Bandits, and it was a 2-0, 13-5, 13-7. Not really much to write home about. Early on, it looked a lot like, very early in the game, so it was Wanted Goon Bandits taking the lead, and then kind of after that, Tsunami Sirens kind of swept in and said, our game now.
Yeah, on both maps, too.
Yeah. Because they were up 5-0 on both. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I think they were up even further on the Ancient. But what I was going to say is, it's actually probably the best we've seen Wanted Bandits, so...
Yeah.
Wanted Goons Bandits. So I'm actually excited for this team. I'm looking at them going, actually, they played pretty well. Nopka is a player to watch.
Yes,
I think. She's played well here, and she played well in her substitute appearance in Impact.
Bombs. Yeah.
For Cherry Bombs, yeah. So I'm keeping an eye on this player because she looks really good from what I've seen so far.
I love this. She years active as a player, 2007 to 2019. Status retired, but she's here. She's playing. So, I mean, why not, right? If you're gonna have some fun with it, you might as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it was a six. It ended up being a 6-woman roster that came through because Jance, I believe, wasn't available either. So they were using
Right.
Tippy in place of her, which makes sense. Known player, good quantity on that. So that is all of NA. That leaves us with Europe for Cash Cup results. And congratulations to NIP who win the last CSGO Cash Cup. They beat Shinigami 2-1. Incilio Female was there.
Yeah.
Not really any other names that we would know.
Complete reversal of fortunes next Cash Cup in CS2 though.
Yeah. Well, you moved.
They go out in the semifinal to Washington 5M, which is Emmy. And I don't know if that's North American Emmy. It might be North American. I don't know, mate. That might be. So
I'm not sure. It's a Romanian flag.
It's a Korean flag.
Washington 5M?
No, go click into the scoreboard.
Okay, but on okay. I'll open it right now.
Yeah. I was gonna say click. So Washington 5M is Monkey D. Julie, who had a Gibraltar flag.
Yeah.
Milo from Finland. Missy Wright, which remember Missy Ray Zero. She was with Aces, I think, last season. Mila, who's also Finnish, and then Emmy, this player, Emmy has a Korean flag. I'm pretty sure that's old CLG Emmy. I'm gonna give a shout and say that is.
I'm scrolling down here. I don't think
I'm thinking because there is an EU Emmy, believe it or not. But
yes, so tournaments going back to 2020, E-Caravan 5v5 CSGO Edita. That's not our Emmy.
Oh no, okay.
That's not our Emmy.
She spells her name exactly the same way.
Exactly the same. And there's a Korean. I'll give you that. There is a Korean flag. However, on Liquipedia, it's a Romanian flag. So.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I got hyped for no reason.
You did. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna quickly scroll through their friends list.
But yeah, Washington 5M would actually go to the final versus VP Angels.
Romanian players.
And they would lose 6. Why is this say 16-13?
Probably because they went to overtime.
Oh yeah, fair enough. 16-13, both maps, the first two maps, 16-13, they split, and then the third map, 13-8.
Okay.
So there you go.
There you go.
Cash Cup's done and dusted.
VP Angels. Crazy. So that is all the Cash Cups. That leaves us with 2 last tournaments to talk about. We're gonna go fast again regarding results for ESL Impact. I mean, we can just. I don't know how we want to do this. We got like 13 minutes left.
We got enough. So start. Just power through. Europe. Let's go.
Europe. Week 2 matches. Nigma win up against VP Angels. They beat them 2-0. Big Akipa going up against Ents Athena 2-0. NIP going up against One Win Gang a 2-1. A reversal.
Oh yeah.
A reversal of fortunes. Nice. So that those results I think are what we expected coming through for at least that week.
The big thing to note is that like I know Nigma for the most part look really good.
Yes.
Missy is actually on Ents. My bad. So she has stood in for her in the Nigma series, and they 16-12'd on Vertigo. So like that was probably the toughest test Nigma's had. But I mean, they steamrolled NIP and they steamrolled VP Angels.
Yeah,
it's kind of given they were going to do that to VP Angels. But NIP dropped the map versus VP and One Win Gang. So, and I mean, the map they dropped against VP, to be fair, was double overtime. But I'm a little concerned for NIP because they just don't look the same beast as last year, I gotta say. So I'm a bit concerned. Big beating Athena's a big scalp for them. I actually didn't fancy this big side.
Really?
Too much coming in. Yeah, I think I put them at 4th in this group.
Yeah,
in our previews
because we didn't know who their 5th was, and then it turned out to be Paulie, and it's like, okay, well,
yeah, exactly. The one player from NIP that made them competitive against Nigma.
Yeah.
So So look, I was concerned too, even then, because they would have to speak English, but they're looking good. They're firing on all cylinders right now.
Yeah.
So
Week 3 results then of Group A, NIP going up against VP Angels. That's a 2-1. That's a pretty good win to take. And they lost, importantly, they lost the first map in double overtime. It was a 22-18.
yeah,
So
exactly.
they showed a lot of resilience. And, that's good to see, at least, that they're still at least a middle of the pack team. They're still they're able to beat the teams. It's just challenging Big and challenging challenging Nigma. Sorry, those are the two big scalps that they have been struggling against so far. At least they struggled against Nigma, and we'll see what happens in the final week when they go up against Big.
Yeah.
Potentially for a playoff spot as well, if you think about it.
Yeah.
The other result coming through, Enigma going up against Athena. A lot closer than you might expect. 16-8, 16-12. So Ents are showing some good signs as well in their development. That leaves week 4 matches. It's Big versus One Win Gang, and then Big versus Nigma. That's kind of funny. Just how that works.
You're looking. It's a big test for One Win Gang, because if they can take the scalp off Big, you figure they'll sit at the end of week 4 2-1, and I don't see a way Big's beating Nigma, right? So you're looking at Big being 2-2, and you're One Win Gang going, right, we're 2-1 with NIP. Yes, we lost the head-to-head to them.
Yeah.
But NIP have to play this Big side. So if we can somehow win out, which again they still have to play Nigma as well in the last week.
Yeah.
But you at least give yourself a chance. Is the point I'm trying to make. So we'll see. Let's go over to Group B, because we do have to fly.
Yes.
Navi played G2 Oya, 16-14 Inferno, 16-11 Anubis. Very good series. Remember I said this G2 side needed a lot more time? I think this series proved it a little bit, because they took one of the finalists, 2-time finalists, to Impact Lands.
It took them pretty close.
It took them pretty to the limit, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Letter Cook beat Shinigami 16-14, 16-4, Nuke and Overpass. 9 Pandas beat Guild 16-8, 16-12, Anubis and Mirage. Shinigami, that early, first week performance that they had against 9 Pandas, but they were really close to actually pulling the rug out from underneath them.
They were.
Nowhere here in the second week, unfortunately. So they fall to 0-2. 9 Pandas beating Guild, I think, is kind of a given.
Yeah.
At this rate.
It feels weird to say that Guild are kind of the punching bag of this group.
But they 100% are.
They 100% are. It feels dang, that sucks to say.
Gamer Legion probably will be another one now that they've had the roster changes.
They did play. I guess.
Yeah, they did play Navi with the 2 subs, by the way, 16-6, 16-9. No issue for Navi.
Yeah.
And then 9 Pandas played G2 Oya. The other big test. What a series, Barbs. 16-6 for G2, 1 Inferno. 22-19 on the Anubis for 9 Pandas. 16-7 on Vertigo for 9 Pandas. Now, that's not a surprise, given the fact that Vertigo was the 3rd map, because, again, G2 do not like Vertigo. That is one map they absolutely don't like. We've heard it in the interviews even, and Spill the CT, and I believe also elsewhere, that they're not big Vertigo fans.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were forced to play it as the 3rd map was always going to favor 9 Pandas.
Yeah.
But G2's Inferno looks really good. This is the Inferno they lost 16-14 to Navi on. They beat Letter Cook 16-7 on.
Yeah.
They took this off 9 Pandas. So I'm looking at these results now, saying if I'm Shinigami in week 5, when I have to play G2, I'm getting rid of Inferno. We're not playing it. So, really good. Almost pulled an upset on 9 Pandas. That would have made the group super interesting, because they both would have been 2-1. G2 would have been second on holding the head-to-head tiebreak, but we'll see. Week 4 matches: Guild versus Shinigami, and Gamers Legion versus Prism versus Guild.
It's the bottom of the barrel going up against each other.
It literally is going to be.
Will make interesting. It makes interesting an interesting lineup, just because we're gonna have more than likely we'll have a definite. You're gonna be bottom of the barrel for the rest of the tournament. Yeah. You're gonna have the wooden spoon. It's like you said. So.
I honestly think that's still gonna be Guild, because look at the other side, right? VP have put up a good fight against most of these teams.
Yeah,
they're -41 on round difference. They're 79 for 120 after 3 series.
Yeah,
Guild have only won 25 rounds in 4 maps of play,
and they're -39.
Yeah, it's not
comparable.
Good enough, right?
It's comparable.
It's not good enough, and that they played 1 less whole series. So Yeah, they're probably going to be the ones holding the wooden spoon at the end of Europe. So that's Europe. Let's move over to South America.
Yeah,
No?
South America. Let's go over there. So I think this is kind of panning out how we expected it to.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. After the big upset with Davina and MIBR,
everything is
it's
kind of
everything's kind of fell into place, right?
yeah. So Fluxo Demons went up against Ravens. That was a 2-1 for them. Furia then go up against MIBR. That's a 2-1 for
You are a week
Furia.
ahead, mate.
Am I?
That's week 3. Yep.
Oh, you're
Week
right. My
2,
bad.
Furia versus Mocreas.
Yeah.
16-5, 16-5. I think that's kind of expected. Furia is really good. Mocreas look good, but if it's two teams they're really not going to be competing with, it's
Yeah.
kind of Fluxo and Furia. MIBR got 2-1. Ravens beat them 16-14 on Vertigo, but they took Inferno 16-10, Mirage 16-9. Kind of not a surprise. Ravens do kind of pull the rug out from underneath them every series on one of the maps.
Yeah.
But MIBR see their way through. Fluxo absolutely obliterated Davina. 16-1 on Vertigo, 16-8 on Nuke.
Rough.
And Kiddes Grasa beat Cafina 16-12 on Overpass, 16-8 on Mirage. So big win for Kiddes Grasa. They now join the 1 and 2s. So hey, I mean they're
There
all
are
fighting
four
for that.
of them, by the way.
Yes,
Just looking at the current,
yeah.
that's insane.
I think Davina's win over Kiddes Grasa week 3 kind of changes the dynamic of the group a lot. But
Yeah.
Week 3, real quick, Fluxo Demons, they dropped a map to Ravens on the Overpass, 19-17, but they beat them on Ancient 16-7, 16-9. Furia beat MIBR in a great series. MIBR took Mirage 16-14. I don't care who you are, by the way. Stop playing MIBR on Mirage. They beat everybody on Mirage. They literally beat everybody on Mirage.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you gotta have
they beat
one
everybody
map,
in
right?
Brazil on Mirage.
You gotta
everybody.
have that one map. You gotta have one map.
Yeah,
that's what they have.
I mean, the only reason they didn't beat Davina is because, what was her name? Just absolutely, Adani just went.
Yeah,
nuts.
I remember you sharing that
nuts
with me.
on that map.
So,
But everybody beats. I mean, everybody loses to MIBR and Mirage. So stop playing them on it, please. The Fury 16-10 on the Anubis, 16-12 on the Inferno. Really good series overall.
Yep.
Mocreas beat Cafina 16-2, 16-3. Just, I'm shocked we didn't get more of a resistance from Cafina. They really, I mean, it's not a bad side, but they really capitulated in that series. And then Davina beat Kiddes Grasa 16-11, 19-17. So really tight series. That's one that I think Kiddes Grasa is going to look at and said it got away from them, because if they win that series, Parks, they would be 2-1 right now. Davina would be down there at 1-2. They'd be sitting in third, going, we have to play MIBR. That's probably a loss. We have to play Furia. That's probably a loss. But then we have to play Mocreas last. And it's one of these things where, had they beaten Davina, they would be going into the final week of the season at whatever,
5-0 or whatever. I don't know. 3-2.
Like 2-2. Yeah, 3-3.
Yeah.
Maybe. Right. So,
right. It's an interesting conundrum that they now have ahead of themselves because they've lost to Davina.
Yeah, because they got to play Fluxo and MIBR still, and then they have to. The other games are. Oh, actually, that's tough. They got to play Furia, MIBR, and Fluxo, and they got to play Mocreas.
Yeah. So to just put this into perspective, Mocreas have played the two hardest teams in this group already. They played Fluxo week 1 and they played Furia week 2.
Yeah.
So their scoreline right now does not reflect where they are in being 1 and 2.
Oh, 100%.
So that will shake itself out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I think the point I was trying to make is you want to compete for 4th to stay in the league.
Yes, that's where you want to be.
And had they beaten Davina, they would have had it. They would have given themselves an outside chance. Now it looks like they might be dead and buried and have to requalify.
So,
which is fine. I mean, that was always the expectation for this team, but
So that leaves us with NA. And it's a very different landscape in NA compared to the other groups. Like at least in Brazil, like almost everybody has one win at this point.
Yep.
But NA is much different. So week 2 results coming forward, it's pretty much exactly along the line of what you expect because the matchups were pretty much lined up to a T about where we were looking on the graphs. Shimmer 2-0'd Hyperion, FlyQuest
Yep.
Red 2-0'd
Not a
Sirens.
bad performance from Hyperion in that
No,
series,
they
by the way.
looked all right, which is good to see from them because we wanted them to
Yep.
fight, but we also at the same time recognize limitations. Karma 2-0 Cherry Bombs. Interestingly enough, EG Gold 2-1 versus Totsugeki. Totsugeki
Yeah.
beat them on Overpass
And
16-9. It was not
yeah,
that close.
and interestingly enough, Cherry Bombs at one point in that Inferno were like 9-1 up or something like that
Yeah,
on Karma.
there
They
was a
kinda gave it
switch that
away.
just suddenly got flipped by Karma, and
Yep.
then they took it. But
Yep.
like early on, it was one of those things of like, this looks really bad. What is happening?
Yeah.
Going on then to week 3 matches, we had Sirens against Totsugeki. Sirens take that one. It's like the second map was a 19-16 overtime match, but they still took the 2-0. Hyperion got hosed by FlyQuest Red 16-5 on both maps. And then Shimmer go up against Cherry Bombs. Again, it's a quick walk for them, 16-4, 16-2. The last match was really the one that people were looking at and going, where does this lead us? Because this is your upper echelon teams kind of fighting it out between each other. And it was Karma versus EG Gold. It ends up going the way of EG Gold, 16-13, 16-8. But it was pretty close round to round. Like, Karma play one of those games that's like you might lose every round, but it's going to be like a 1v1. Like, it is clutch after clutch after clutch. And so, yeah, EG Gold taking that win does put their name in a different conversation, I think, than what we were originally looking at. Because when we went into the season, we said, we're not sure about EG Gold just because of past stuff. However, it's a good-looking team, and they're starting to show results, and that's good to see.
Yeah, it's there's a very clear division though in North America between like the 4 best and then the 4 like the lower 4 teams, right? That's kind of at least between the top 3 and the bottom 3, right? It's a real clear divide. So, because FlyQuest, Shimmer, and EG are all 3-0, and Totsugeki, Cherry Bombs, and Hyperion are all 3. Thing is, those teams have not played that badly. Like Totsugeki's gotten real close. Hyperion has been fairly competitive. So you get these matchups in the later weeks. You know, week 4, Cherry Bombs have to play Hyperion. So
That's a good
Hyperion
match.
are going to be looking to pick up a win there.
That's a good match.
Yeah, good match. Yeah, but Hyperion are probably the favorites to pick up a win there. They're probably going to look to pick up a win there that next week.
Yeah.
Week 5, Hyperion versus Totsugeki. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Sirens had to play Cherry Bombs as well. So, and the Sirens had to play EG Gold next week. So the EG Gold are real deal, which they're starting to look more and more that part.
Yeah.
Then Sirens will be sitting at 1-3. And all the other teams around them, especially if Hyperion pick up the win on Cherry Bomb, they're going to be going, they're going to be looking to take them down, right? So, it's the problem is since only the top 4 teams retain the spot, it's one of these things where like unless Karma really slip up here, which they do have to play FlyQuest Red and Shimmer.
So yeah, there's a lot of looking where you're going. The fight is for the 4th spot, and Karma by all intents, by what we've seen, Karma are the holders of that 4th spot.
Right.
The question is, because of
the
way the matches,
holders so far as
well. because of the matches they've got to play and because of everybody else where they're at, is there going to be a change in that, and are we going to see somebody else take the spot instead? Because that's the interesting fight right now. So that's kind of where we.
And the reason I say that too is, I'm sorry.
No.
The point I was trying to make is that those teams are going to start to charge up. Like
0-3,
they played all the tough stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're going to start making
now
some
it's
of
the
those
time
teams
to make the
is
move.
going to start making a charge. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, that leaves all of ESL Impact. So we'll be nicely waiting weeks 4 and 5 before next episode.
Yes. We have one
last
tiny other tournament.
Yeah. We're gonna quickly talk about it just because
I'm not even going to talk about results.
No, I'm just going to say, hey,
there was another FastCup.
Yeah.
Female $500 one. The Nova Split number 6 5v5 tournament. Here's the thing. I love what they're trying to do, right? I actually really like this tournament organizer.
Yeah.
But because they're a Russian-based tournament organizer, and most of these weekends that these would fall under, these actually take place on a Friday.
Right.
Because it's $500 and it's mainly known about in Russia mostly, you get a crap ton of Russian teams.
Yes.
So 6, 7, 8, 9. You had 10 Russian teams out of the 16 that played.
Yeah.
So, it's just a lot of teams. You know what I mean? Like it's just so a lot of the other teams like NIP or anything like that are not going to be entering it because they have to play so much CS just to have a crack at $500. You know what I mean? They're not going to do it. But in the end, the lineup of Kill Them All beat the lineup called Monkeys. So it is Kill Them All that come away with it. It's Nur, Icy God, Floya, Wine is on that side. They 16-0'd the Ancient, by the way. So it wasn't
goodness.
even.
Like, it was not
even
close towards the end there.
Yeah, but yeah, it's the main reason I wanted to point it out is because it's the first one we've had in a month.
Yeah.
And you do get some players in there who do play. Like He Called Me played in it on Oliver Peak. Lolita played in it. Shout out Lolita, really fun streamer. Streams a lot of KZ if you're interested in that. So I'm looking to see if we get those picking up again, right? So that's mainly why we've mentioned it, is because we know they used to organize them all the time. They've had a month off, and now they've come back with another one.
Now they're back. Speaking about being back, well, we never left, so sorry, I had to put that in there somewhere. This is the end of the episode. This is the end of the episode. Hour and 6 minutes, and we did pretty good. Oh yeah, okay. You asked me first. I forgot about that.
What are you watching?
So
no, I went to go last, so that's why.
You like going last. So I've been watching EG Gold on their playoff push. They've already qualified for intermediate. Now they're trying to qualify for main. So it was 128 teams are in playoffs right now, in the open playoffs. If they win round 5, which I believe they won round 3, so they're playing round 4 tonight. If they win round 5, they make top 8. They're the top 8 teams, and they qualify for main for next season, which would be amazing. It'd be a huge jump for them, but also.
Is this EG you said?
Yeah, EG Gold.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
And they're in open?
They're in open right now. They have qualified for intermediate, which there were a few teams that were like, I know Karma was in the playoffs. And I think there's a few rosters that are in intermediate right now. I don't know which ones. But yeah, Karma qualified for playoffs. They didn't make it far enough, I think, to make intermediate. I don't remember exactly. But I know for sure EG Gold have qualified for intermediate, and they're now trying to qualify for main by making it farther up in the playoffs. And they looked all right last time I watched them. They looked pretty good. So I'm watching that. Also watching ESL Impact's Community Cash Cup or Community Nights, because we're still doing that, of course. I'm just trying to think what else. I got Thanksgiving this weekend, so I'm not paying too much attention to much other stuff. Yeah, welcome to Canada, buddy.
All strange up there.
Sure, man. Much rather have it in October than November, though.
I don't really think it makes a difference, if I'm honest with you. So
I like it. I like where it is. It's still warm out, so
fair enough.
What are you watching, Benny?
The pod.
Yeah.
We're cooking at Best Bits. We'll get you.
We'll get that sometime soon.
We'll get you out there sometime.
We gotta make the rough cut. We gotta make the rough cut, and then the rough cut's gotta go through the editors.
And then,
so.
Yeah, we gotta decide on which one.
We do have somebody who's gonna help me with the editing. Thank goodness.
That's fine. But look forward to that.
Yeah.
In the next, I would say within the month.
Yes. Within the next few weeks. As soon as we have a rough cut, it goes pretty quick from there, because then they take care of it from there.
So, but what am I watching? Asia qualifiers.
Yes.
They are Friday. It is a big tournament. Not a lot of signups right now. I'm actually surprised.
They'll pop up.
We haven't had.
I think they'll
pop
up. I think they'll pop up.
Yeah, they always do. CS players are really lazy. They just sign up for everything last minute.
Part of it is lazy.
The servers last minute.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Part of it is they're lazy. Part of it is also we don't have a set 5 until last minute because people keep coming and going. But
that's true. The puck sides, they are kind of put together. Two big things to note, though, by the way.
Yeah.
Obviously, HSG. I mentioned before. It's Naomi, Hazel, Argent, GFI, and Olga. 95 from their academy team is listed as the substitute. Yeah. But the Oceanic teams have been given the approval to play in this tournament to try and take the spot. So KCG Hera have signed up.
Yeah.
And so have the other teams, Stacks of Cash, which is CSGO Enjoyers / whatever the other else they've been known as.
The mix of whoever was left, basically.
So Connie, Soko, HDiz, Artemis, and MP3 player, That's a really good lineup. And substitute Sarah is listed as their KZG have obviously Phoebe, Kimbab, Noogs, Stallbelly, Suneko, and sub as Ronnie. Ronnie looked pretty good. By the way, keep an eye on Suneko because she looks freaking amazing. She did over the series. Really solid player up and coming out of Australia. So those are all the established, like well-organized people. They're the three
They're in
signs
there
right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The rest of
So
the rosters
and
will show
the
up
other thing
eventually.
about it, by the way, real quick, is they were told, they will have to normally veto for the server. So obviously Aussies are probably going to want to veto like Tokyo and Seoul. But if they do get to a point where the two Aussie teams play each other, the admins agree they will give them
a Sydney server. Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool.
Other
thing that because I talked to Connie about this just quickly here. The other thing that that we talked about was they were given a Guam server because it usually defaults to Hong Kong or somewhere else. So they don't have an exact ruling on if you're facing off against an Australian team as an Asia Pacific team. They can just veto Guam, and then they get the better paying of the two teams. So keep an eye on that. I haven't seen it. I haven't heard of an official ruling on that yet. But I think that's something to keep an eye on because the admins might just be like, okay, you're playing against an Australian team, you have to play Guam because that's the only way to keep this at least semi-fair for the two teams.
The other thing too is we know how bad Peaker's advantage is right now in CS2 as well. It's horrible.
Among the myriad of other things that we talk about all the time. All right. I think that's us done for this episode. Benny, thank you so much for joining me. Shout out to everybody who watches. Thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to do this for a whole year and continue on. And we really appreciate everything. We appreciate the comments. We do read them. We keep an eye on everything. So do feel free to hit us up. I know I put out a tweet earlier saying, hey, what are your best bits?
Christ.
I know. Hold that for a little longer. Tweet at me your best bits. Like, I want to add them. I want to see what you guys enjoyed as well. Anyways, we're going to get out of here. Have a good night, folks. And until next time, see you later. Bye for now.